The day after our wedding, my wife told me she married me for my family's money. She said, "You're pathetic. I'll leave you with nothing." I recorded everything. 6 months later, she filed for divorce. She thought she'd win. She didn't know I had proof. Now she's homeless and everyone knows the truth. My name's John. I'm 32. And I thought I had everything. That's what I told myself the morning after my wedding to a buy. The morning everything changed. We'd gotten married in this picturesque vineyard outside the city. Everyone said we were the perfect couple. We danced under fairy lights. She kissed me like I was the only man in the world. Then came the next day. I woke up in our honeymoon suite, groggy but happy. Abai was sitting at the edge of the bed, scrolling through her phone. Her hair was perfect, makeup flawless, but her eyes were cold. She looked up, smirked, said words I'll never forget. "You know I married you for your family's money, right? You're pathetic. I'm going to leave you with nothing." I laughed, thought it was a joke. She kept talking. She told me her whole plan. That she'd string me along for a few months, file for divorce, take half of what she thought was mine. I felt like I was underwater. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. She leaned closer. Whispered she'd already started moving money into her own accounts. That she'd found all the passwords I kept on my laptop. That she'd been talking to lawyers for weeks. And then she walked into the bathroom like it was any other morning. My hands shook. My head spun. But something snapped inside me. I grabbed my phone off the nightstand and hit record. She didn't know. I knew I needed proof. Because suddenly I realized I'd married a stranger. I spent the next hour pretending. Smiling when she looked at me. Acting normal. Inside I was screaming. When she went down to the hotel spa, I called my best friend, Marcus. He picked up on the first ring. "Marcus, man, I'm in trouble. Abby's been planning to screw me over." I told him everything. He went silent. Then he said the only thing that made sense. "You need to protect yourself." No. I packed up my laptop, grabbed the marriage certificate and left the hotel. Told the front desk Abai would meet me later. Drove straight to my parents' house. I showed my father the recording. The look on his face was devastation. My mom started crying. She always adored Abai. Always said she was perfect for me. My dad put a hand on my shoulder. "We're going to handle this quietly," he said. "But first you need to see a lawyer." That afternoon, I sat in a dark oak-paneled office across from Mr. Dawson, my family's attorney. He was in his 60s, bald, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. He listened to the recording twice. Didn't say a word until it ended. Then he looked up. "She'll try to make you look like the villain. You need to stay calm. Document everything. Keep her talking. The more she says, the better." My stomach turned. I realized what he was asking. I had to keep living with her. Pretending. Acting like the perfect husband. For months. But I agreed. Because if I didn't, she'd destroy me. I went back to the hotel before dinner. Abai was lounging on the bed in a silk robe, scrolling through her phone again. She looked up, all sweetness. "There you are, baby. I missed you." I kissed her cheek. Forced a smile. Said I just needed some air. That night, I lay awake beside her. Listening to her breathe. Every sound in the dark felt like a threat. 3 days later, we flew back home. She was radiant at the airport. Waving at people, holding my hand, acting like the blushing bride. At home, she started making herself comfortable. Moving her clothes into my closet. Redecorating the living room. Telling me how things would be from now on. She demanded access to my bank accounts. Said she needed my credit cards to go shopping, because she deserved it after planning the wedding. When I hesitated, she pouted. Called me stingy. I gave her what she asked for. But first, I called my bank and set alerts on every account. Every transaction over $1 pinged my phone. That's how I saw what she was doing. Over the next few weeks, Abai spent tens of thousands. Designer bags, jewelry, spa packages, weekend trips for herself and a friend I didn't know. I kept the charade up. Kissed her goodbye when she left. Acted busy with work. But I tracked every dime. Collected every receipt. And every night, when she fell asleep, I backed up her texts from the phone I bought her. Read conversations she thought I'd never see. She told friends she was counting down the days until she could dump me. That she'd get the house, the cars, and half my inheritance. That she'd find someone better after she took me for everything. A month in, I started noticing a pattern. Every Friday night, she went to a yoga retreat. Came home late. Sometimes smelling like cologne that wasn't mine. I asked her once casually, "How was yoga?" She smiled. Said it was transformative. I decided to follow her. That Friday, I waited until she left. Gave her a 10-minute head start. Then I grabbed my car and tailed her downtown. She parked outside a high-rise apartment. Got out wearing a red dress I'd never seen. Walked into the building with a man I'd never met. They were laughing, touching, like lovers. My chest burned. I felt like I was going to puke. But I snapped photos from across the street. Waited. 2 hours later, I watched them leave together. Her lipstick smeared. His shirt untucked. I followed them to a restaurant. More photos. Then to a hotel. More photos. Back home, I sent everything to Mr. Dawson. He called back immediately. You've got what you need. Keep going. She'll make her move soon. The next morning, Abai was all smiles. Brought me breakfast in bed. Kissed me softly. Told me how lucky she was to have me. I wanted to throw up. Instead, I told her I'd planned a weekend getaway for us. She lit up. Said I was the best husband ever. We drove to a cabin my family owned by the lake. Abai took 1,000 selfies. Posted them with captions like blessed wife and true love. She had no idea I was building a case. One night at the cabin as we sat by the fire, she got a phone call. Stepped outside to take it. I followed silently. She was pacing on the deck, voice low but angry, telling someone she was sick of waiting. That the prenup she made me sign was invalid, and she'd get more if she pushed sooner. I recorded every word. When we got back home, I could feel the tension building. She was impatient, picking fights over nothing, accusing me of cheating, calling me cold. But I stayed calm. Gave her nothing she could use. Every time she lost her temper, I wrote it down. Recorded it if I could. Then 2 months after the wedding, she sat me down. We need to talk, she said. Her eyes were hard. Her voice cold. I'm filing for divorce. I've already spoken to my lawyer. You'll be hearing from him soon. My hands were steady as I poured myself a drink. I asked what she wanted. Half, she said. In the house. In my car. I nodded. Said we'd talk soon. Inside I felt a strange peace, because I knew I had everything I needed. That night I went to my parents' house. Told them it had started. Mr. Dawson began drafting our response. He told me not to react. Not to engage. Just wait. Over the next weeks, divorce papers arrived. Her lawyer demanded half of everything I owned, spousal support, and full ownership of the house. She was smug. Acting like she'd already won. Showing up to our old favorite restaurant with the man I'd seen her with. Making sure mutual friends saw them together. People started whispering. Some reached out to me. Asked what was happening. I stayed silent. Let her dig her own grave. One night I got a call from Marcus. Dude, Abby's telling everyone you abused her. That you're broke. That you begged her to stay. My blood ran cold. She was setting the stage. Making me look like the monster. So when she took me to court, she'd seem like the innocent victim. I called Mr. Dawson. He told me to stay quiet publicly. But he added a new angle to our case, defamation. The morning after that call, I woke up to dozens of missed messages. Friends, family, even co-workers asking what was going on. Abai had posted on social media. Pictures of herself with makeup, bruises. Stories about how I'd screamed at her. That I'd stolen her money. It went viral in our circles. Comments flooded in. People took sides. Some called me a monster. Others said it sounded fishy. But I stayed silent. Because I had proof. I didn't sleep that night. I kept scrolling through her posts. The lies. The comments from people I knew. Some saying they always suspected I was abusive. Others saying they couldn't believe it. Every word felt like a knife. I wanted to scream my side of the story. But I kept hearing Mr. Dawson's voice in my head. Stay calm. Stay silent. Let her hang herself. The next day Abai moved out. Packed up her things while I was at work. Left a note on the kitchen counter. I hope you rot alone. You pathetic excuse for a man. She moved into the apartment of the guy she'd been seeing. The same man I'd followed weeks earlier. His name was Ethan. He was a bartender at one of her favorite clubs. She started posting pictures of them together almost immediately. Kissing. Drinking. Laughing. The captions made me sick. Finally free. Real love after a nightmare. That weekend her lawyer called mine. They demanded an emergency hearing for temporary spousal support. Claimed Abai had no income. Said I'd left her destitute. I nearly laughed. She had dozens of designer bags, thousands in jewelry, and a new boyfriend paying her rent. But they were building a case to paint her as the helpless victim. Mr. Dawson told me not to worry. He'd seen it all before. I focused on my own life. Tried to find normalcy. Went to work. Hit the gym. Spent evenings with family. But I felt hollow. Every time my phone buzzed, I flinched. I knew this wasn't over. Not even close. 2 weeks later, the first court date arrived. I sat in the courtroom in a navy suit. Abai walked in wearing white, like some twisted callback to our wedding. She looked radiant, eyes cold as ice. She avoided my gaze. Her lawyer painted a picture of a terrified woman trapped in an abusive marriage. He described me as controlling, violent, manipulative. Abai sobbed on the stand. Told the judge I'd called her worthless. That I'd isolated her from friends and family. That I'd threatened to kill myself if she left me. I stared at her, stunned. She was so convincing. Even the bailiff looked sympathetic. Then it was my turn. Mr. Dawson stood calmly. He played the first recording, the one from our honeymoon suite. Abby's voice filled the room. You know I married you for your family's money, right? You're pathetic. I'm going to leave you with nothing. Her face drained of color. He played the next clip. Her phone call at the cabin talking about invalidating the prenup. Then the photos of her with Ethan. The hotel. The texts bragging about taking me for everything. Every lie she told in court shattered with every piece of evidence. The judge's face hardened. Abai started sobbing again, but it wasn't the same performance. This time it was panic. Her lawyer tried to object. Tried to spin it. But the damage was done. After court, Abai chased me down the hall, screaming that I'd set her up. That I'd ruined her life. Security had to separate us. I walked away without a word. That night, I finally posted my side of the story. I uploaded the recordings, the photos, screenshots of texts, a timeline of everything that had happened. I didn't add commentary, just facts. It went viral overnight. My phone exploded. Messages from friends apologizing. Strangers sending support. Even people who'd believed Abby's lies were furious. Abby's social media vanished by morning. She deleted every account. But the screenshots lived on. Days later, her lawyer dropped her case. Said he wouldn't represent her anymore. The prenup, which she'd called invalid, was airtight. She got nothing. Not the house. Not the car. Not a cent of my inheritance. The judge ruled against her on every count. Denied her any spousal support. Ordered her to pay my legal fees. But it wasn't over. Mr. Dawson suggested we sue her for defamation. But I hesitated. I just wanted it to be over. I was exhausted. Hollowed out. Then I found out Abai and Ethan had been evicted from their apartment. Word had gotten around about what she'd done. His boss fired him when customers started recognizing them from the viral posts. They bounced from couch to couch. Friends who'd believed her lies stopped returning her calls. She tried reaching out to me. Left voicemails sobbing. Begging. I blocked her number. A month later, I ran into Abai by accident. I was at the grocery store grabbing coffee. She was outside wearing dirty clothes, hair a mess. Her eyes were wild. She tried to approach me. I shook my head and kept walking. I heard her screaming behind me. That I ruined her life. That she deserved better. People were staring. I didn't look back. At home, I poured myself a drink. Sat on the couch. Let it all wash over me. The love I thought we had. The future I thought we'd built. It was all a lie. But I survived it. A week later, Mr. Dawson called with one final twist. He'd found out Abai tried to sue Ethan after they broke up. Claimed he'd stolen from her. But she had no proof. The case was thrown out. She was on her own. No home. No money. No one willing to help. I wish I could say I felt sorry for her. But I don't. These days I'm careful. I take things slow with people. I listen more than I talk. I watch for red flags. And I've learned one of the hardest truths of my life. Some people only love what you can give them. Not who you are. I've never shared this story until now. But maybe someone reading this needs to know. Record everything. Protect yourself. And if something feels wrong, it probably is. After seeing Abai outside that grocery store, I thought I'd reached the end of this nightmare. But life had one more twist waiting for me. A few weeks later, I got a call at work. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. An hour later, curiosity got the better of me. Hi John, it's Detective Alvarez with the city police. We'd like to speak with you regarding some statements made by Abigail Lewis. Please call me back as soon as possible. My stomach dropped. I called immediately. Detective Alvarez was calm but firm. Said Abai had come to the station claiming I'd hacked her accounts, stalked her and threatened her life. He wanted to hear my side. I drove straight there, heart pounding the whole way. The station was cold. Gray walls. A faint smell of old coffee. Alvarez met me in the lobby. Mid-40s, kind eyes but all business. He took me to a small interview room. Sat down across from me. Asked me to start from the beginning. I told him everything. The honeymoon. The recordings. The cheating. The fake bruises. The court case. I handed over a thumb drive with copies of every recording, text, photo, and court document. He plugged it into his laptop. Started scrolling through the files. I watched his face change as he listened to Abby's voice bragging about taking me for everything. When he finally looked up, he nodded. "Thank you for coming in, John. We'll be in touch." That night I barely slept. I kept picturing Abby sitting in some interrogation room, spinning new lies. Wondering if they'd believe her over me. Wondering if she'd find some way to ruin me after all. But 3 days later, Detective Alvarez called again. "We're not pursuing charges against you. In fact, based on the evidence, we're investigating Abigail for filing a false report." I sank into my chair in relief. From there, things moved fast. Detectives questioned people she'd lied to. Compared timelines. Pulled security footage from the night she claimed I'd stalked her. It showed her out drinking with Ethan, not cowering at home. She'd made everything up. Again. I didn't press charges. I could have. Alvarez told me they had enough to charge her with filing a false report, maybe even perjury for her lies in court. But I was done. I wanted her out of my life. Out of my head. I told the detective I wouldn't pursue it. He respected my decision. A few days later, I got a letter in the mail. From Abby. It was 5 pages long. Rambling. Swinging wildly between apologies and rage. She begged me to forgive her. Blamed me for everything. Promised she'd change. Threatened to hurt herself if I didn't take her back. I forwarded it to Mr. Dawson, then burned it in my fireplace. The next week, Marcus and I went out for drinks. First time in months I felt like myself. Over beer and wings, he looked me dead in the eye. "Man, I thought you were done for. But you handled it better than anyone I know." I laughed for the first time in what felt like years. Really laughed. The tension left my shoulders. I realized it was over. Truly over. 3 months later, Abby left the city. Someone told me she moved to another state, chasing some new mark. I don't know if it's true. I don't care. She's gone. That's all that matters. In the months since, I've slowly rebuilt my life. I started dating again. Carefully. Openly. I told the first woman I got serious with about everything that happened. She listened without judgment. We're still together. She's kind. Genuine. Nothing like Abby. My parents and I are closer than ever. We talk every day. We laugh again. My mom says she knew something was off with Abby but didn't want to ruin my happiness. I told her next time she has a bad feeling, I'll listen. Marcus stood by me through everything. We still joke about the great Abby disaster. He says I should write a book. Maybe I just did. Sometimes I think back to that morning after the wedding. Abby sitting on the bed telling me her plan with that smirk. I wonder how many times she's done it before. How many lives she's ruined. But then I remind myself, I'm free. I learned things I wish I hadn't. That love can blind you. That some people only see you as a paycheck. That even the person sleeping next to you can be a stranger. But I also learned who I am. That I'm stronger than I thought. Smarter than I gave myself credit for. And that when your gut says something's wrong, it probably is. So if you're reading this and something in your relationship feels off, listen to yourself. Document everything. Protect yourself. And never be afraid to walk away from someone who shows you who they really are. Abby tried to leave me with nothing. In the end, she's the one who lost everything. Don't forget to subscribe for more ex-confession stories AMD drama.